when he starts with agree, you have to all agree. I get a little nervous.
I thought, wow, that's not happening today. Welcome to the second season of the Laughing.Mystics, an unorthodox journey through the liturgical year with Laura Lewis-Barr and Marcy Mederi. Hey, Laura.
Hi, Marcy.
So we are talking about the third Sunday in extraordinary time.
It is extraordinary. Yay.
So good to be here and nice to be with you, listeners. I was talking to a friend, Al, who's also a listener, about the interesting paradox that, Laura and I are just talking in this small, very private space, and it feels like it's just us, and yet it's a lot of people at the same time. What we say is both very personal and private and shared with a lot of folks.
Yeah, I don't know that. I think it is the nature of this confessional space that makes it possible for me to just share, and it's you, Marcy, that brings it out of me.
I'm glad I don't make you cry. I've got a kind of a superpower to make people cry. And I would do it very unconsciously, just kind of ask the next question and the next question. And there was a time, this is quite a few years ago, it was a baby shower, and my daughter was there with me. And after making the second person cry, she just looked at me. She says, "Mother, you need to stop making people cry." Fortunately, in my spiritual direction, I gained a greater understanding of how this happens, and I choose not to do it in inappropriate settings. So I'm able to kind of focus in when I'm a spiritual director to really get at the heart of things, but at the same time, let someone just enjoy the baby shower.
That is a superpower.
I want to give a shout out to Michelle, who's a listener, and my husband and I had brunch with her and her husband. We were talking. She's like, "Oh yeah, I listened to your podcast. I know all about your broken fingers." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's right. I do talk about things and share, and then people remember."
Yeah.
So anyway, hello, Michelle. Thanks for listening.
Yes, thank you. And a big shout out to Jackie.
Oh, yes, Jackie.
Who has offered to help us behind the scenes. God bless you, Jackie. Some of the algorithmic nightmare of things to do on the back end. And so grateful to you.
Yes.
So my question, this idea of seeing the light or a moment of conversion in the world or in myself, a memory of seeing the light or a moment of conversion in the world or in myself. Because last time we were talking about evolution and this idea of having some distance and being able to see the movement of our lives or of the world.
Could you ask the question again? Can you use the question in a sentence?
There's a lot of talk of light, and so trying to dig deeper into these moments of positive change when I or my world has a movement forward. There's a movement of light. I think in the U.S., I think in the 1960s that happened, and John F. Kennedy and a lot of other people, and there was a lot of movement toward equality and thinking about the earth, and that was a moment of light in the culture, I think. When I was 26, I moved to California, and I started graduate school in arts and consciousness, and then I switched majors to transpersonal psychology. But it was a time of wonder. I was in California. I lived in Northern California. My first time with this crazy graduate school, we met in this wonderful place in the Redwoods, and it was magical time, right? So, yeah, I'm just inviting all of us to remember those times of light, positivity, conversion, the good coming in.
The first thing that comes to mind is becoming a mother, first to my darling Rachel and then to my very sweet Joseph. Certainly their presence and their goodness, but also what changed in me. There was something new that became alive as I entered into that role. And I always knew from a young age I wanted to be a mother. So that fulfillment of that long dream, that and has changed me, for the better, if I can quote Wicked.
You can.
That I have been changed for good. I don't know. That's that they were a light coming into the world, but it also sparked a light within me.
Yeah, I can see that.
I still love being a mom.
What is it?
Do I love about it? Oh, just the joy that these little beings, they're all grown up now, but the joy that they give me, and the connection between us, that they were once in my body.
Yeah, when you talk, I just think about how some people are really meant to be parents, and you clearly are. And, I'm surprised there isn't a sacrament in the church dedicated toward it, because there is for marriage.
But what a cool idea. I mean, there's baptism, but that's really not necessarily about becoming a parent.
Right. Like
That's great.
Yeah, because your description of it, and I've witnessed, I think the biggest witness that I've had of you with parenting is knowing that there have been times when one of your kids has been ill, and yet you're not a helicopter parent. You're very much allow them their life in a way that I think you're just kind of an unusual person anyway, Marcy. And so this sacred way that you are with your kids is, I don't know that it's all that typical. I don't know. I don't have kids, so I can't speak to a lot of it. But anyway,
well, thank you.
Yeah.
And just to acknowledge, I mean, not all of us are called to be parents. And that's a beautiful thing to listen to that call too.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully, whatever we're fated with, whatever life gives us, and living that, as we've said in the past, with faithfulness to it.
Another reading from the book of Isaiah. First, the Lord degraded the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, but in the end he has glorified the seaward road, the land west of the Jordan, the district of the Gentiles. Anguish has taken the wing, dispelled is darkness, for there is no gloom where but now there was distress. The people who have walked in darkness have seen a great light. Upon those who dwelt in the land of gloom a light has shone. You have brought them abundant joy and great rejoicing, as they rejoice before you at the harvest, as people make merry when dividing spoils. For the yoke that burdened them, the pole on their shoulder, and the rod of their taskmaster, you have smashed, as on the day of Midian.
Again, we have something overly familiar, so it can be easy for me to sort of just glide over. There is a new relationship to the people that I read, like Edward Edinger, that I haven't talked about in a long time, but he has a book on these early prophets. And for him, it's all about this new relationship to the deep self, the higher self, God within, between the ego and that self. And the burden of being this small, selfish creature is broken. The darkness of thinking I'm the only thing in the world is broken.
That the darkness of being the only thing is broken. Isn't that strange? Like when I or other people are having a situation, usually it helps to know that I'm not alone. I'm not the first one to have this, and I won't be the last, whatever that situation is. That breaking open of the shell, of the opening of the eyes.
Yeah. And that my little ego is not the universe. It's not the everything, but it's easy, especially as a modern person, for me to forget that and just think it's all about what I want. And
so you're telling me it's not all about me? I'm feeling a little disappointed. When I was about 4 years old, and I asked my mother, I said, Mother, does God have Jane? Now, Jane is my older sister. And my mom said, well, yes, of course, God has Jane. God has all of us. I said, good. And I walked away. And she said, wait a minute, come back here. Why did you ask that question? I said, well, in church. She said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, Lord have mercy, Christ have mercy, Lord have mercy.
Oh, wow.
I thought like it was all about me. And, depending when I tell that story or to whom I tell that story, sometimes I end it with, but I doubt it. I doubt it today that it's not all about me.
I think one way I measure it is anytime I have an emotional reaction of anger or impatience or fear, because fear is very much like, oh no, it's not going to go the way I want it to go. And I have a lot of things that I want to go a certain way, if I'm honest. And every so often, it happened recently, I had this moment where I felt a shift in consciousness, and it was like, okay, it's not about me. It's about whatever happens is great. And I felt so great. And that lasted about 5 minutes. And then it was done. But I had that 5 minutes.
Right. That abundant joy and great rejoicing.
Yep.
In the land of gloom, a light shone.
But for those of us out there who are drivers, that is just a mind-blowing idea. And paradoxical, right?
I had a supervisor once tell me that, my piece to work on was that I'm overly responsible. Yeah, it still holds true. Like I work with it because my idea that I'm responsible for everything puts me in the center of the universe.
Yeah. When I used to direct theater, and I'd be directing a play, and I'd have either students, or if I was working in the community, I'd have community members that I wasn't paying, and I was just totally dependent on these people to make props or create the set or learn their lines or whatever it was. And I wanted excellence. And so I would be very fretful about it. And never once did I think, oh, maybe I could just pray about it and ask God's help. Because I thought that was sort of cheating. And I'm not going to ask God to help me direct this play. So I totally understand this idea of wanting to be responsible. I think that's part of the paradox, is that we are called, I think, to work on ourselves and, as we've said, work on the world.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I really witness you holding it lightly. And that's the thing. You're rolling your eyes.
Well, some days you do it better than others.
Yeah.
But thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's what I've witnessed anyway. And
For me, it's a much more peaceful place to be.
but even more than that, I mean, the peace is great, but I think it's also the honest place, the healthy place, the place that is in this reading. It's the place I'm always thinking about my dog Reggie, who wants to be in charge. And
Isn't he in charge?
tries to be in charge. And, I let him think he is a lot of the time, but I can't let him be in charge any more than higher self can let me be in charge.
Yes. Yes. Which is unpleasant. That reality that I'm not in charge, that can be very unpleasant.
And scary.
It's scary, but I've got a list. I've got expectations, places to go, people to see.
Exactly. The second reading is from 1 Corinthians. I urge you, brothers and sisters, in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, that all of you agree in what you say, and that there be no divisions among you, but that you be united in the same mind and in the same purpose. For it has been reported to me about you, my brothers and sisters, by Chloe's people, that there are rivalries among you. I mean that each of you is saying, I belong to Paul, or I belong to Apollos, or I belong to Cephas, or I belong to Christ. Is Christ divided? Was Paul crucified for you? Or were you baptized in the name of Paul? For Christ did not send me to baptize, but to preach the gospel, and not with the wisdom of human eloquence, so that the cross of Christ might not be emptied of its meaning. Paul's getting a little snarky here.
Maybe just a little done. He's done in the oven. He's toasted. He's ready for these folks to figure it out, to come together and stop the fighting.
Yeah, so first I have to say, good for Paul for not succumbing to the temptation to have followers that belong to him, because that trips many people up and they want that. The question I have is, we have this tension between individuality and unity.
Mm-hmm.
When he starts with agree, you have to all agree, I get a little nervous.
I thought, wow, that's not happening today. Just even in the church world, we don't all agree.
And I don't think everyone agreeing is healthy or real, and we don't have the evolution if we're forcing everyone to agree.
No, we don't. Maybe I'm reading the tone into this, but I feel like Paul is just saying, knock it off. It is, as you said, though, problematic when people take this to say we all have to think the exact same thing.
Yeah. And we've talked about this thing that Paul has his gifts, but I don't think he's got a gift at sort of understanding the psychology of, for him just to say it's just Christ and let's just all huddle together doesn't kind of get at what's underneath the differences.
Maybe Paul and or the community in Corinth needed to take a class in healthy conflict.
Yeah.
Seriously. Or nonviolent communication, which acknowledges conflict, but you can talk about it.
And it's a confusing time.
Mm-hmm.
And so people are taking sides. And I get Paul is saying there's something higher here that we are forgetting about. It's just that knock it off piece. I mean, I guess it worked. He got the church
Sort
to
of.
survive this.
Yeah, you got it to survive, and for people to come together. But I wonder what was sacrificed too. Whose voice got stamped out.
Right. And I think it's the tension we face, this individuality versus unity.
Mm-hmm.
It's always part of the tension of church and what we're doing.
Pope Benedict, the recent Pope Benedict, said that we needed a smaller and more unified church. And that was really hard because, a lot of people left because they didn't feel like there was a place for them anymore in their home at the table, which I find tragic.
So his message was kind of, if you can't be in this spot,
Mm-hmm.
you should leave.
Yes, right. Like the smaller church was okay, which is so different from when I was in high school in the 1980s, which was a great time of expansion in the Catholic Church, and I loved it. I think that's one of the reasons why I fell in love with the church is because there was a place for everyone at the table, and people didn't have to agree, and yet we could all gather around the Eucharist. So I definitely was saddened by that, and how our community, and I don't mean just our small community, but the big Catholic church community is missing some really lovely, creative, interesting people.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about what even we mean. Like, for me, the Catholic Church is our little community. And I sort of love the pageantry, and it was very cool, the picking of the new pope, and that was fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool to be attached to something with history. But the church in Africa or the church in Asia or the church in South America have to be so different than what I experience as church. So I don't know, even what we mean. Like, it's cool that everybody belongs. I agree with you. It's really cool. What does it mean to belong? Maybe that's my question. Like, as long as you're not too outrageous and you don't get excommunicated, like who got excommunicated? Matthew Fox? Did he get excommunicated?
Yes.
You can all be in unless you say stuff that's too something. Teilhard avoided getting the boot, and I don't know how Rohr avoids it. It'll be interesting, it feels like the pendulum swings in the church, in countries around the world. And, hopefully from my point of view, it swings more and more toward inclusion. It swings away, but then it swings back and it's further.
For me, that people feel like they have a place. That's important to me. And maybe one of the reasons why I work for the church in my own small way, I can try to be a welcoming presence for people who don't feel like they fit. Because I'm not sure I ever really felt like I fit.
Really?
Oh,
Why?
yeah. I don't know. I think I'm kind of an edge walker. I'm in the church, but on that reaching out edge. So kind of in that middle place. I'm a middle child. I don't know.
Are you saying because of some of the things you believe, you thought maybe you wouldn't belong? Because you're not divorced, you're not LGBTQ, you're...
No. I guess I meant that in a bigger way that, my family of origin, I love them very much, and I'm very different from them. So that being different,
Mm-hmm.
I have a heart for those who are different and don't feel like they belong.
I see.
I have a heart for the misfit.
Yeah.
And you know, like you said, in a lot of ways, I've got a very standard life. But I'm also the 17-year-old who cut off half my hair and dressed like Cyndi Lauper. You know, I wasn't a part of the cool kids in high school. I was part of the misfits in college.
Yeah. It's funny that edgewalkers, I guess I'm apparently really attracted to them because I think about all my friends and they are all that. You know, they are all on the edges. And maybe we're all on the edges. I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder about that. What's it like to be in the center? Like you said, does anyone feel like they are at the center?
A reading from the Gospel of Matthew. When Jesus heard that John had been arrested, he withdrew to Galilee. He left Nazareth and went to live in Capernaum by the sea, in the region of Zebulun and Naphtali, that what had been said through Isaiah the prophet might be fulfilled. Land of Zebulun and land of Naphtali, the way to the sea beyond the Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles. The people who sit in darkness have seen a great light. On those dwelling in a land overshadowed by death, light has arisen.
From that time on, Jesus began to preach and say, "Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand." And as he was walking by the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon, who is called Peter, and his brother Andrew, casting a net into the sea. They were fishermen. He said to them, "Come after me, and I will make you fishers of men." At once they left their nets and followed him. He walked along from there and saw two brothers, James the son of Zebedee and his brother John. They were in a boat with their father Zebedee, mending their nets. He called them, and immediately they left their boat and their father and followed him. He went all around Galilee, teaching in their synagogues, proclaiming the gospel of the kingdom, and curing every disease and illness among the people.
It's a juicy one.
I like this one. That new moment of that creativity, of doing something new, something different. You know, and Jesus is walking around and talking in synagogues and proclaiming the kingdom and inviting people to join this new and radical way of living.
So if I was there and you were there and I said, "Hey, Marcy, what does he mean? The kingdom of heaven is at hand." What would you tell me?
I'm not sure, but it feels really good to hear it. Come on, let's.
Well, okay. And now, this Marcy, what would you say it might mean? What does Jesus mean? The kingdom of heaven is at hand.
To me, it means like we all have the potential to make the world a different place. And that is exciting. Gospel message is exciting that we can make this world a better place. We can bring about God's love and justice.
I noticed when you were reading that we have two sets of brothers, and I'm wondering if this were a dream. What is that about? Go ahead.
For me, I would be much more inclined to go and do something wild if I had my sister with me. If I had a good friend with me, it would be easier to do than just me alone.
Yeah. Jungians say that when you dream of doubles, it means that something is coming to consciousness. So this doubling effect, because there's everything in life is a polarity of good, bad, light, dark, hot, cold. And so I'm wondering just in this moment if we're welcoming in the polarity with these brothers.
I love that idea. And it's not just one set, it's two sets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, something exciting happened when I read this morning. I had a dream this morning that was pretty trippy, and I wanted to tell you about it, but I thought, I'm not going to record it. But now I have to record it because of this. And I had the dream. I always work on my dreams first thing. And then I hadn't had a chance to look at the readings, so I read it and went, whoa. So I had a dream that, and I welcome us. We'll see if I keep it in or not. We can work on it in real time if you want to. But
sure. I love doing dream work.
yeah. So I dreamt that there was a fish. It was about 8 inches long and it was silver. And I don't remember how I found it, but my task in the dream was to try to save it from being out of the water. It was out of the water and I was trying to get it to some water. And so I wrapped the fish in something like tissue that was wet. And I put the fish at my heart. And I was a little afraid because it's scaly and it's got this mouth with teeth, and I didn't want to get hurt. But I really wanted to help this fish. And apparently it was a magical fish because it talked to me at one point, and it was living outside the water pretty fine, even though that was my goal, to help it. And at one point, I was sort of filling up almost like a hot tub, and I asked it what temperature it wanted, and it said cool. And then I didn't seem there anymore, but it was still at my heart, and I was walking through a crowd, and I was really rushing to try to get it to the water. So I had some immediate thoughts about it, and it very much fits this gospel reading for me, but I can let you.
Well, no, I'd love to hear what you're like.
Really? You don't want to? Okay.
Well, like who's the fish?
Well, I mean, of course.
Or what's the fish?
Christ is associated with the fish, of course. And in the dream, it felt very much, and Jungians would say this very easily about this dream, the fish comes from the deep, and it is a symbol of the higher self. There's the old fisherman in the sea. There's lots of stories and fairy tales about the magical fish. It seems to be an image of higher self God, and it's at my heart.
Yes, that's so significant.
It is. And I felt visited in the dream. I felt like, to me, what the dream felt like is the work we're doing here. And that holding these thoughts about God very close to my heart. I'm holding God very close to my heart, but it needs living water. It needs the water. I need to find the water. It's going to die if. So this freshness that we talk about is the living water, and that's the work we're doing. And then we get this reading about the fishermen and the nets and the symbol of the fish. And so I've been visited today by the symbol of the fish, and it came to me in a dream. And at one point in the dream, I sort of forgot about the fish, and he was like, hello, I'm still here. And I was like, oh, shoot, I got to get it to the water.
So what do you think that living water is for you?
I think it's what we're doing here, which is to take these stories and mine them for the deep psychological truths in them.
So, I just think about that fish being so close to my chest, and I might be reluctant to release him, even though that's what he needs the most. But to let that go, that beautiful connection to release that. I think that would be hard for me if it were my dream.
Yeah, that's a really great insight or feeling about it. And I know that I hadn't done it yet in the dream, and I was intending to do it, but I hear what you're saying. It's like it was a visitation of sacredness that I got to hold close to me. And I think the fact that I could be hurt by the fish, because holding a fish is not I think
It's not like a puppy.
no, it's got these scales and teeth, and I think what we said earlier about God isn't a puppy either. I mean, I think to recognize that the creature of the depths brings along stuff that I may not want to see, hear, deal with.
It brings risk when I go into my deep waters.
Yeah, and my first image of the dream of putting it in this kind of like a hot tub, that's not going to help this fish ultimately.
No.
It needs the sea. And so what does that mean in terms of my work and expanding beyond the smallness, or I don't know.
Well, it's that call that God keeps on, saying through the scriptures, think bigger, release bigger. It's be expansive. That fish needs expansiveness. So here's a question. If in your dream you released it, this big sea, would you and the fish still be connected?
I am still connected to the fish now. So I think so. And I think dream work, I found an image online that I copied, that I put on my screensaver for my computer, that I'll post, of an artistic rendering of a silver fish. And I think on that level, I don't let the fish go. Like that visitation stays with me. But I think what you're suggesting is another technique of active imagination, imagining letting the fish go and imagining what that means for me, because that's what I felt called to do in the dream. There's a lot that I could imagine and explore with this dream. But just to bring it back to the reading, I think being fishers of men
and women,
yes, and this idea of casting the net in the sea, and that Jesus invites us to go into the deep waters. I think I just wanted to circle back to that.
I just marvel the power and charisma of Jesus. All he says is, come after me and I will make you fishers of men and women. But that's all it took for them to leave their whole life. And to bring it into present day, like, do I create enough space in my heart for Jesus's call to sweep me off my feet, to take me into unexpected places and uncharted waters?
Right. And again, these stories are simplified. It might have been more like, Dad, I got to talk to you about this thing. Took a little while to do it, maybe. I don't know. But you're so right that they stepped out of the life that they thought they were going to have. And being the good son and having the security.
Yes. So to hear the call, to acknowledge the call, and have the courage to follow it. And I just think it's an amazing process.
Right.
Like, I am filled with amazement. I'm not sure I could leave my life.
Right. And this morning I had an experience of the divine, and I think that has to come first, right? You have the experience of the divine.
Yes.
And then hopefully we can all say yes.
Yes. But yes, you're absolutely correct. People need to experience God, the divine, and fall in love with that. Well, thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen and engage in this conversation. Thank you, Laura, for being here with me, as always, as my faithful companion on this journey. And if you listeners have a chance, do share this podcast, tell people about it, like us, leave a comment. We really like the comments. And we hope that you have a good day. I hope that you do fall ever more in love with the divine.
Thank you, Marcy. Until next time.